Hi everybody. I first want to mention I'm not telling anyone to hate this show. This is how the show has made me feel, this is how the show has made people I know feel, and I am speaking about that. If you love this show, if you want to support it, if it has spoken to you on a deep level or even just an entertainment one, then I encourage you to support it. Don't let someone, me included, tell you what you should and shouldn't like. This is your life. I speak from my perspective. It doesn't mean I'm incapable of seeing yours. I was severely bullied in school for loving Charmed. I was beaten, I was harassed, I was threatened. I had teachers give me detentions because a stupid student made up some bogus lie saying I tried to curse them. I had kids in front of the whole year tell me I should be burned at the stake. I was 11. So I will never trash or criticize someone for loving what they love. And if you love this show, then I encourage you to love it with all your heart and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because it's none of their fucking business. This is my channel, so I am speaking on an issue that I care about. You don't have to like it or agree, that's your choice. I won't ever hate on you, so please don't do the same to me. If you watch this, you will see there are times I defend the show or the cast, and a lot of times I do the opposite, but I don't do things blindly. I'm not here to say fans of the original are right and Reboot fans are wrong. Neither side is right or wrong. There doesn't even need to be sides, it's stupid. But now I shall get on with the video. After my first video on the subject, I started to learn more and more about the series and the behaviour from the studio, the producers, director and showrunner, and even the cast that had me offended and disgusted as a human being at what this show was doing. This show was never about the fans, and despite how it describes itself, what it is a blatant cash grab. CW President Mark Pedowitz said, quote, "We wanted to have an established show on Sunday night. We wanted name value with Charmed on there. We felt that it was two shows that are empowered women. We are marketing a statement that we were not kidding, that we're not phoning it in on Sunday night, that we were going to compete," unquote. That statement tells me they picked a show that they knew had a strong fan base so that they could do whatever they wanted, because as long as it was associated with the original, people were going to pay attention. In other words, how to get fans without doing any work. It's called being lazy. The publicity of this show says a lot about what the studio thinks about it. The CW has actually done very little to promote it. They called it Charmed, instantly getting the attention of Charmed fans, which, as underhanded as that is very clever. This sets off a feud between fans in favour of the reboot and those against it. Now, because these fans are feuding, more people hear about Charmed, which means free publicity. So that's very clever. Then it thinks, okay, how do we bring in more demographics? I know, make them Hispanic. As soon as you do that, you have Hispanic audiences giving you their attention because now they think, hang on, there's something to represent me and my culture, but that's not enough. Then it makes one of the characters gay. Now you've got the LGBT plus audience's attention because they're also going, hang on, I'm gonna be represented? So the show has targeted all these demographics, but only by saying, this is what will be in there. Majority of the publicity has been left to word of mouth. In other words, this so-called empowering show is getting recognition by letting fan groups verbally beat the crap out of each other, which is not something I find empowering. You would then say the studios have no control over that, which to a degree is true, but they have control over everything else. For the Charmed reboot, there has been very little promotion. There has been a trailer which was ridiculously long and tells everyone what happens in the pilot episode, leaving very little to the imagination. It released a promo which has a lot of the same clips, and it released 2 posters. It then released a shared Sunday night promo with Supergirl, where Supergirl got more clips included. If they really cared about this show and were really going to compete on Sunday nights like they claim, then they would be promoting the shit out of it. But they're not. They're not willing to put any money behind this. They expect the name to do the work for them, and it is going to bite them in the ass. Now, Charmed did get a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, but not a lot of people have access to that, so that does nothing to help entice the millions of people who did not attend. I'm going to defend the cast for a minute. Now, the cast has flip-flopped on a lot of what they have said about the show. One minute they say it has nothing in common with the original, then a week later they say it is deep-rooted in the original. Even the showrunner Jenny Snyder-Urman has gone back and forth on that statement. One of the cast during a red carpet interview said it has nothing in common with the original, which it does in spades, but then in the same interview said she'd never even seen the original, so what she just did was make an uninformed statement. But here's the thing, I get it. This is their jobs, this is their income. Our three leads aren't only actors of the show, they are the show's executive producers. They don't want it to fail, why would they? They want and need it to succeed. It obviously means something to them and they care about it. And part of the job is you have to promote the shit out of it. Plug it when you can, while you can. If they want it to survive, then they have to encourage people to see it and talk it up however they can. That's the industry. However, they are treading a very fine line. They have to entice their current audience while trying not to offend the original audience, and in doing so, you get confused on what you've said. You lose track, and that's okay. Shit happens. If that were it, I would be okay because they do not have it easy right now. They have to simultaneously promote a show because God knows the studios aren't. They have to try not to piss off original fans, and they have to fight back against a lot of online hate. And some of what I've seen is truly disgusting, and with that I completely sympathize. These people have their hands full right now. It's the hypocrisy I can't tolerate from the cast and crew. They promote female empowerment while supporting people who trash the original cast. They talk about admiring the original cast and what they created and even hope to involve them in the reboot. Then they turn around and like tweets and Instagram posts bashing them or calling them old, which if you think 40 is old, you're insane. For example, Melanie Diaz posts this innocent picture to Instagram. Then a Charmed fan posts this in reply. Firstly, this comment is stupid, or comments. There was no reason for this person to come onto her Instagram and post this to her. That's disrespectful and rude, and this should never have been posted. But then, and I'm ashamed to say, an Australian posts this in reply. Calling the original cast old is unnecessary and disgraceful as well as stupid, but that's not why people got upset. They got upset because of the three people who liked the post. One of them was Melanie Diaz. And this is not the first time one of the cast or crew has liked or supported a post that insults the original cast. You cannot claim to praise them, love them, support them, and even want to work with them, go around spouting female empowerment, and then on the flip side, through this action, say it's okay to do this crap. In 6 years, Melanie, you will be that age. Do you want people treating you the same way? That's not okay. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions say the opposite of what comes out of their mouth. I'm not very convinced the new cast or even the showrunner have seen the original Charmed because they tend to make comments that would indicate they didn't. Like Jenny saying the original concluded Wyatt and Chris's story. No it didn't. It changed their story, opening up a whole new one, which is why so many fans have been saying they want to see their story. I don't, but they do. This cast talks about doing things the original didn't do or introducing stories the original didn't, and here I am detailing the exact episodes where the original did do those things. Even just how this continues to say it's a feminist reboot when the original was feminist, and it was feminist organically. It didn't constantly hit people over the head to make its point. It just let these women be written as strong women who made empowered decisions in their lives, and that inspired others. But back to what I was saying. Cast member Sedarius Blaine is being slammed for this tweet. "'Cause I'm off today and bored in Vancouver before dinner, figure I'll feed the trolls once in a while. It's fun reading the retarded stuff that comes out of their mouths. I just can't help myself. I'm a big kid." First, I think people are overreacting to the tweet. I don't think this tweet is enough reason for him to be fired or boycotted. That's stupid. And responses like that are why he posted the tweet in the first place. If you could see the horrible things that are being thrown their way, most of which are stupid, then you would see he was not completely out of line to call out stupid comments for being stupid. Where he is out of line is in the context of the tweet. What he said was juvenile, and I would expect more from a professional. You are representing your show, which is your business. You need people to like you and it, and when you post crap like this, you are shooting yourself in the foot. As you can see, it backfired, but also why it's juvenile and why it is evidence to show the cast doesn't represent the show's message of diversity and empowerment is because he is talking about encouraging people to fight. He is excited to be feeding trolls, which means fueling aggression and encouraging people to continue to be nasty. This is not what anyone should be promoting, especially not when you're part of a show trying to send a peaceful message. That's a fail. As to why I think some of the cast haven't watched the original, here is part of why I say that. Besides Madeline Mantock making that very statement, there's also this, which before I show it, I would like to say it's okay if they haven't seen it. They don't have to. But I would rather they were honest and just admitted that instead of pretending to know all about it and then making BS comments like this where they just make themselves look ignorant. It's okay to admit you don't know something. It's better than lying. So Darius Blaine in an interview said this. I was actually a bit shocked about it because they didn't have any series regulars of colour in the original one until about the 6th or 7th season. I think it's a testament to the progressiveness of film and TV right now. Didn't have any series regulars of colour in the original one until about the 6th or 7th season. Ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Blaine, meet Dorian Gregory. This African-American actor played Inspector Daryl Morris on the original Charmed. He was a regular in the show from seasons 1 to 7 and was even included in the opening credits. You know what? While I'm at it, we have Sandra Prosper, who played Daryl's wife Sheila for 9 episodes total, appearing sporadically between seasons 5 and 7. Debbie Morgan, who played the Seer and did a phenomenal job, appearing in 7 episodes in season 4 and 1 in season 5, making it 8 in total. David Reavers, who played Paige's social worker boss Bob Cohen for 8 episodes in season 4. Patrice Fisher, who played Avatar Beta for 7 episodes in season 7. Keith Diamond, who played Inspector Rhys Davidson for 4 episodes in season 3 and 1 in season 7, and there are others. Now, aside from Daryl, these characters might not have been around for as long as some of their white counterparts, but they were there, and I think it's rude and ignorant to ignore their existence so that you can talk yourself up like what you're doing is unheard of. Charmed fans loved Daryl and still do. He was a great part of the show and we missed him in season 8. We loved meeting his wife because it created a story that wasn't about magic. The Seer was a fantastic demon on Charmed and was one of my friend's favourite demons. And it may have only been 5 episodes, but you have to give mad props to Keith Diamond as Rhys Davidson. No one expected him to be around as long as he was, but he did a terrific job. And when his character was killed, it was surprisingly emotional. A lot of people had become attached to him without trying to. And those that didn't care for the character could acknowledge what an impact his character and his character's death had on that episode and season. Enough of an impact for them to reuse the impact of his death years later in season 7. These people were given stories, things that made them stand out no matter how briefly they were on the screen. So don't say they didn't exist, and don't say you have tremendous respect for the foundation they laid when you seem to know nothing about it. The other week, beauty YouTuber Nima Tang made this comment about the beauty industry while reviewing the scandalous Beauty Blender foundation, and what she said I'd like to quote because I feel it applies to the entertainment industry too. She is a woman of colour, so she is speaking from a personal place on the matter. She said, quote, "This whole idea of inclusivity being a trend, I feel like it's trendy to people who don't have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. So for me, and people like me, even when this trend passes on, it's still going to be a problem for me. It's still going to be something that's important to me because it's not trendy for me. This is something I live with on a day-to-day basis." The reason I quoted this is because that's what I feel this reboot is doing. People across the globe are banding together for the Me Too movement, sharing their painful personal stories. It has such a substantial impact right now, and this show is cashing in on the movement's influence. I was someone who told their story when the movement started. Not all of my stories, and God knows there are lots of them, but I did bring up the one that I felt did the most damage to me. I saw so many people tell their stories, and I remember feeling sick and crying because it was so overwhelming to see this outpouring of pain and suffering and watching everyone give each other understanding and support. Charmed was solace during some very traumatic times in my life, so to watch the reboot of the show that protected me blatantly abuse this movement for views offends me on a deep level. Just because you have some campus protest in a TV show doesn't mean you're helping the issue or spreading awareness. It doesn't mean you're helping anyone, because when that episode is over or when the studios decide that narrative isn't bankable anymore, it doesn't change the fact that people are still going to go through it and need the Me Too movement to survive. I'm not saying it's wrong to include it, but it doesn't feel natural. It feels forced and fake. It feels like it is added to get attention, and that's not what the Me Too movement is. That's not what feminism is. You can cast a straight woman as a gay woman and have her pretend to understand what it means to be gay, but it doesn't change the fact that real gay people out there are still having their rights taken away. And when the studios decide the narrative doesn't line their pockets and they get rid of it, guess what? Gay people, transgender people are still going to be fighting their battles. You can cast Hispanic women, but where is their culture? Just because you cast Hispanic actors doesn't mean all the Mexicans in America are going to be spared the hate, racism, and vitriol that is thrown at them every day. I think including these topics and these characters are definitely important, but do them respect and justice. Don't put the trend before the narrative. Cast Hispanic people because you have an important story to tell that will help those same people. Cast or write gay characters because they deserve to be included, because they exist in this world like the rest of us, but don't do it because you want to look inclusive and diverse. I hate how studios have to announce when doing a film or TV show that a character is gay or transgender. The fact that you're advertising something so normal makes it seem abnormal, and the advertising, it means you are trying to get attention for something that you should just be doing. Don't advertise it and talk yourself up going, look how inclusive we are, just do it. Straight characters have never had to announce they are straight. Studios don't go around marketing a straight cast, and you shouldn't have to for gay people. If you introduce a relative of yours who is gay to someone, you don't say, this is my gay brother Mark. You say, this is my brother Mark. Them being gay is irrelevant. You wouldn't say, this is my straight brother Mark, so why would gay people need to be identified? Why do we keep pointing them out and singling them out? Studios do it for attention and publicity, but for me, it feels offensive. Because if you notice, indie films don't really go around saying, hey, we're doing a gay movie. No, they go and do a movie, tell a story, and it just happens to center around gay people. It was advertised as a love story or a drama, people went to go see it and loved it because it was a good film, not because it was marketed as gay. Gay people are people. They should not be defined by their sexuality. They're just people. The fact studios keep doing this reminds me that gay people still aren't equal with us. I think they'll be equal the day we can stop pointing them out from everyone else. I would have loved it if they never told us one of the characters were gay. If you watch the episode and suddenly she's on a date with a woman or she's being visited by an ex and you can tell from the conversation these two had a relationship, then you are introducing me to your character and in that telling me they're gay. But tell me in a normal way, a way that shows me this person is normal just like me. But because the studio has been reminding us over and over that there is a gay character, it comes off like, hey, look at us, praise us for having a gay character. My brother is gay, and his name isn't Mark. When I told him about the reboot, he didn't give a shit, because he doesn't give two fucks about Charmed, and he really didn't want to hear me talk about it. Then I told him one of the sisters would be gay, and he lost his shit. He was going, I'm so fucking sick of this. Why does everyone have to be gay now? And if they are, so fucking what? Why do they have to keep going on about it? I'm so tired of hearing this shit. I'm gay. I don't go around advertising it. This shit does my head in. Point is, if you're going to have gay characters, then just have them. Start treating them the same way you would a straight character. They're not an abnormal species. They're not things for us to go tapping on a glass going, Mom, look, a lesbian! Just include them naturally, like the real world. Go watch Pose and take some tips from that. There is a post I found from a woman who watched the first episode. She says, I am a bisexual Latina woman. It's my opinion you wanted to hear, well, let me give it to you. I am so deeply offended by this reboot, words can't even explain it. First problem right off the bat, the cast. Yay, an all-female Latina cast who kick ass! At least that was my first thought when I heard that this was the direction the show was going in. And then the trailer happened. And I just sat in a state of shock that they cast Hispanics who look nothing alike. Woo, you go CW, you found 3 Hispanic brunettes. Good job, gold star. Like that's all they have in common. You couldn't have found actresses who looked alike, let alone ones who are supposed to be playing sisters. Like, I'd understand the casting if they had similar features or hell, even the same skin tone, but they don't. To me, that screams that the CW just found 3 Hispanic actresses and went, meh, close enough. It falls into the stereotype that all Hispanics look alike. We don't. Not even close. Diversity shouldn't be in the form of actresses who are supposed to be sisters and do not look like sisters. That's fucking insulting to me. Might as well have made them white women at that point because it's misrepresentation. 2. The way they advertised this show felt like a slap in the face for the fans of the original show. Like they don't want us to watch it because our Charmed we knew and loved wasn't feminist enough. They said a feminist reboot. So the first one wasn't a feminist show? The show was always centered around the sisters. They had male love interests who became regulars, sure, but at the end of the day, it was always about the relationship between the sisters. Charmed showed me how strong female relationships could work, that not every female on TV has to always hate each other to be enemies. Even when the sisters were fighting, they still managed to come back together and kick some serious demon ass. In every episode, there was always some kind of sister relationship that just felt real. Every relationship was different and flawed, but at the end of the day, that was relatable. It showed that me as a woman could support other women. Even if we didn't get along, we could still settle our differences and do what was right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg to me of what's wrong with this show. It wasn't the reboot the original fandom wanted. It just feels like they gave up and decided a rewrite was what was best. So yeah, you can have your fake Latina family lead show. I still think I'm going to choose the original. I hope the actresses can all find work once the show flops. Ouch. Then there was this Facebook comment from another woman. The characters appear to be Hispanic. I really haven't invested the time to verify this. As a Latina with a wildly eclectic religious upbringing, I wanted to see more magic that drew influence from stories like La Llorona, El Sombreron, pulling from the Mayan deities and rituals, Catholic habit that are tied to Santa Maria, and the other cool saints we sometimes light candles for, and finally, Afro-Latino culture practices such as Santeria. I could be butchering this a bit, hence eclectic. I wasn't raised in any one specific doctrine. I just do not feel reflected in a show with women that look like me. Is it asking too much? These people make excellent points, and they are part of the target audience, so their opinion does matter a lot. Now, I did just read an interview where showrunner Jenny said, quote, "The girls do have different fathers." I don't understand why. While it would entirely explain them not looking alike, I don't get why you do this. To write a mother who gets pregnant and puts the child up for adoption months later, then gets pregnant to another guy, then pregnant to another guy. Jenny says she wants to focus on the sisters' multicultural backgrounds and show multiculturalism. There are a million ways to depict multiculturalism, and some of the best ideas don't involve a woman having 3 daughters to 3 men of different ethnicities. And before you think I'm a prude, I have 2 older siblings who have a different dad to me and a younger brother who has a different mom to me. It just all comes off like an insane mess. You could have them all have the same dad, but the dad is one race and the mom is another. You could have grandparents of different races or cultures. You could just include more ethnic characters, but this approach is just bonkers. Now, the author of the interview and Jenny both implied that it was the outlets who made it out to be a show about 3 Hispanic witches, and that was never the goal. That wasn't what Jenny was going for. That outlets just assumed this when Melanie was first cast. It's possible outlets got the wrong idea and advertised it incorrectly, but in all these months, I don't recall the studios correcting those claims. Fans of the reboot have reached out to the actors saying how excited they are about a show with 3 Hispanic witches, and the cast never corrected them. They talk about diverse ethnicities, but until now, when we are told about the different dads thing, we were never told that this wasn't a show about 3 Hispanic women. So it just seems either the studio is backtracking or they allow people to be misled. Either way, this seems like more really shitty marketing. About the religion. I did mention the other day, Madeline Mantock had said, quote, Jenny was really interested in looking at how magic is different across all different cultures. Yet, as these Latin women I quoted are pointing out, their culture is not being represented. This show appears from its limited advertising to be American at its core. When I heard Hispanic, I was expecting brujeria, which I know literally translates to witchcraft. But the term you use determines how you practice it. Wicca and witchcraft are not the same thing. You can practice witchcraft but not be a Wiccan and vice versa. And even being pagan is different because technically pagan was a broad term created by Christians to describe any religion or practice that wasn't Christian. So while yes, brujeria is witchcraft, it is witchcraft that is rooted in Hispanic culture. So I'm confused, as are these other women apparently, as to why the showrunner would talk about wanting to include culture and the studio goes out of their way to cast Hispanic actresses, but then don't represent the Hispanic culture. And only 2 of the leads have Hispanic heritage. Madeline is cast to play the daughter of a Hispanic woman, but she is of African Caribbean descent. Now, as it turns out, the show does have a Latin male witch on their writing staff, a man by the name of Marcos Luvanos, who is even part of a coven. Now, it didn't actually say he practiced brujeria. Like I said, terminology is important. Just because he's Latin doesn't make it automatic. Like being from the Middle East and being Christian, it happens. But nevertheless, based on this article, it sounds like the show will address brujeria, but it seems like an afterthought. Like at some point, for whatever reason, it will be included, but it's not the central focus. I don't understand why you would make that secondary. We have Hispanic women who have watched this and were upset to see that the first episode focuses on an American culture and American Wicca or witchcraft. Jenny is promising culture, but it seems people of that culture aren't seeing what they felt they were promised. If it were important to the show, you'd think it would be established in the first episode. It feels like trying to gain an audience base with false promises. I mean, the show uses a Book of Shadows, which is an item found in neo-pagan Wicca. The book has a triquetra, also known as a Trinity knot, which is a Celtic symbol which was later adapted by Christians. You're using the book and symbol only because the original did, but those things have no roots in Hispanic culture. I'm not saying that culture has never used a triquetra or Book of Shadows, maybe they have, but they could have picked something more authentic. If culture was the goal, if it was so important, then why not adopt a Hispanic symbol that is more recognized by that culture or something like that? Then we have the oh so annoying tagline, Feminist Reboot, or how the show is tearing down the patriarchy, which if I hear those words again, I'll go insane. So what is feminism? Feminism is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal: to define, establish, and achieve political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Basically, trying to put everyone on an equal footing. That's not what I get from this show. So far from this show, it's promos, the demons, and the trailer. It's more about putting women, young women, on a pedestal and painting men as the villains. That's not feminism. You have a sexist demon, what the fuck? Demons, whether real or fictional, are entities with no emotion or empathy or regard for human life. they are inhuman. So to make a demon sexist, like an entity with that level of power would even give a shit, is stupid. It's continuing the narrative that men are evil, men are demonic, and women are saints. It also, to a degree, feels like you're saying men who behave this way and do these things don't have a choice because it's in their nature. It's not. They have a choice. They choose wrong. Not to mention, women are guilty of this shit too. Other supernatural shows, even Supernatural, draw a line between supernatural beings and human ones. What it does is it shows how dark and depraved the human soul can be. A demon who goes around killing for self-gain or fun isn't scary because it has no other purpose than this, so it doesn't impact us. But when we suddenly come across a human storyline where the villain is human, it's shocking and impactful because we as humans don't have excuses for these actions. They are truly abhorrent. So for this show to not create that line, to make them the same thing, is something I don't agree with. Not as a plot narrative or social commentary. If they just had demons and then at some point stumbled on something that they think is a demon but is human, and hell, maybe the human predator doing God knows what is a woman, that's impactful because without shoving it down our throats, it illustrates that there are real evils in the world and they are not confined to one gender. The original Charm did that, Supernatural did that, and even Angel did that. To me, this reboot is more ageist than it is feminist. Valerie Cruz plays Marisol, the girl's mother in this, and I love Valerie as an actress. I think she is so much fun. If she didn't get killed in the first episode, I would consider watching this just for her. I loved her in Dexter, True Blood, Nip Tuck. I actually think it's funny both she and Melanie Diaz appeared in Nip Tuck alongside its star Julianne McMahon, who was in 3 seasons of the original Charmed. Funny coincidence. Anyway, Valerie plays their mother. Now she is 42 years of age. Madeline Mantock, who plays the eldest sister, is 28. Sarah Jeffrey, who plays the youngest sister, is 22. And Melanie Diaz, who is playing the middle sister, is 34. That's 8 years younger than the actress playing her mother. I don't understand what's hard about hiring people the right age. I find it very hard to picture Valerie as their mother because she looks so young. And that's because she is. It's weird to think she's 42 and the woman playing her middle child was born when she was 8 years old. Is there something wrong with casting an older actress? What is this obsession with youth? Why do people keep calling 40s old? They aren't. They're young. If they were casting age and ethnic appropriately, they could have cast Madeline Stowe, Maria Conchita Alonso, though I'll be honest, she doesn't look anything like their mother. I admit, I do think Valerie has some similarities with at least 2 of our actresses. She just looks way too young to be their mum. People have said how contemporary, socially and politically significant this show is and how it speaks to this era, and while I get why they are saying that, I don't agree. This show reminds me of season 4 of Charmed when Piper tries to modernize P3 and Paige tells her, whenever you try to be that hip, it ain't hip. It feels like it's resting more on today's social issues than its own narrative or plots or character development. Between no means no protests, characters calling things woke, lines like being a witch is a fully pro-choice enterprise, or they never should have hired a cis man for this position, which even though I understand the context in which that was said, that still feels both sexist and like it's trying too hard simultaneously. Then them feeling the need to include Trump in their narrative. Honestly, this show is trying so painfully hard to be relevant to every demographic and including so much it's giving me a headache. And this is just the first episode. I hate Trump, but I also hate how many shows are jumping on the Trump bashing bandwagon. Stop giving the monster airtime. Stop trying to make him relevant.
Stop trying to make Trump happen. It's not going to happen.
I had to do that. Anyway, stop giving him even more attention. He loves it. Stop doing his publicity for him. Show after show, they are addressing the Trump political climate, but all they are doing is bashing him to entertain the audience that hates him. And that doesn't achieve anything. To even go a step further and include in your plot that basically electing Donald Trump as president kickstarted the rise of the source of all evil is bullshit in every sense it can be. This is, like I said before, They need to not blur that line between supernatural evil and real evil, because they're creating this mythos or narrative that almost suggests it's all the same thing, or that we are creating evil, which if that's the case, then it means there is minimal distinction between human and inhuman. There is so much going on in this soap opera magic horror show, which is the worst genre description I've ever heard. First you butcher charm, now you butcher the horror genre. This show is starting to sound more like Truth or Dare, I swear to God. At the end of the day, if this show wasn't called Charmed, if it addressed political and social issues organically, cast ethnicities or sexualities to tell their stories and not just appear diverse for the sake of it, if they had created a new and exciting story, then I would have entirely supported it. I would have been excited and promoting the hell out of it, but there is nothing I support about this. I don't support how the studio has approached this, how they have treated the original, or how they are treating the reboot, because they do not give two shits about it. It is just money to them. And even if I didn't like the show, I would have supported the actors. But I don't support people who do and say hypocritical things or insult people to make themselves look better. I think either fan base that goes around trashing people and posting vitriol are disgusting, and I try not to associate with people like that. All my opinions and how I feel about the reboot have nothing to do with the original. Do I love it? Yes. Is it why I hate this reboot? No. I started seeing what it was doing, how it was using people and issues, how the cast was behaving, how the studio was not even supporting its own show. And then the more I learned about the series and the first episode, the more pissed off I became. I hate it for every reason I have mentioned today. It has nothing to do with the original. Are they similar? In so many ways. Even when they say, we're doing something that hasn't been done in Charmed before, I can list every time that was done on Charmed. Don't lie, don't deceive, and don't pretend to be something you're not. To cast, I completely believe that you believe in this show and what it can do for people. Even if sometimes their actions suggest otherwise, I do believe they care about it a great deal. They wouldn't have signed on if they didn't. But I feel bad for them because they care a shit ton more than the CW does, and that's a fact. I may not like this reboot, but I search every day for the promotions for it, and aside from what I've mentioned, there's nada. That doesn't sound like a studio that is invested and here to compete. I know that this has been a really long video and I do apologize for that, but as you can see, I had a lot I wanted to talk about. If you watched this whole thing, then thank you. I know most people have a good reason for supporting this, and that's no reason to hate them. So you all hating each other achieves absolutely nothing. I feel how I do. I'm not here to convince people to see things my way. I'm just here to get my thoughts and feelings out. So please, whichever side you're on, please don't be hateful or nasty to someone just because they don't agree with you. It's not necessary. If you love the new Charmed because you believe in equality and empowering each other and people's rights, then practice it. That's enough from me. I will end it there and say until next time, bye.